camps, all three of the ethnic groups fighting each other. Abandoned here over a year ago, these are forgotten victims of a terrible war, innocent in the misery they cannot escape. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Belgrade.
The United Nations is also trying to cope with the disaster of mass starvation in Somalia on the Horn of Africa. A plane carrying about 20 tons of food arrived there today, and much more is on the way. But no matter how much is sent in this case, it probably won't be enough. Bert Quint narrates our report.
Yugoslavia may be a nightmare, but this is the land God forgot. So say the few relief workers who have found their way to the Horn of Africa. And until today, it seemed, the world ignored the agony of Somalia, where drought and famine, together with armed clans powered by hunger, greed, and drugs, have been killing off the population. Now the U.S. says it will send 145,000 tons of food. But that's a drop of relief in an ocean of famine. Nearly 3 of every 4 Somalis are starving, like this little boy. So weak, he was dead before the UN observer had left his side. Multiply this death by hundreds every day. Take entire villages where people eat leaves and birds, scrabble for grains of rice, or have to walk 100 miles to the nearest Red Cross kitchen, and you get the worst human crisis in all of today's suffering world. And the fearsome forecast that another 1.5 million could die within weeks.
It's absolutely a horrific situation to be in. Everybody you see is malnourished. Everybody is hungry.
Ironically, the end of the Cold War was the beginning of the end of Somalia. When the West and the Soviet Union competed for influence on the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean, the United States helped keep an anti-communist dictator in power in Somalia. By the time rebels overthrew that dictator, no one seemed to care if rival warlords battled each other and ripped off the few relief supplies there were.
Where was the world? Where was the press? Where was the UN? Where is the Organization of African Unity, the Islamic Conference, the Arab League?
Now, Somalia can no longer be ignored. The UN has made a deal with the warlord in Mogadishu to bring in 500 Pakistani soldiers to try to keep the food from being stolen. That's not much of a guarantee, and it will take a lot more to keep this little fellow, and millions like him, alive. Bert Quint, CBS News, London.
Air traffic controllers in Russia went on a one-day strike over pay at more than 50 airports today, stranding thousands of passengers. Military controllers took over, and while domestic air travel in Russia was disrupted, most international flights operated normally.
Some full commission brokers are finding more and more ways to charge more and more fees, even annual fees on IRAs, just for the privilege of doing business with them. But not us. At Charles Schwab, we offer the no-fee IRA, and we guarantee that you'll never pay an annual fee for the rest of your life. So if you're tired of finding new fees every time you open your statement,
maybe it's time to come to Schwab. For ordinary heartburn,
the meeting's changed again.
there are ordinary antacids. But for really bad heartburn,
To 7 a.m. Saturday.
better make it Maalox Heartburn Relief. It stops your worst heartburn and helps keep it from coming back, like no ordinary antacid.
Hot breakfast idea. Smucker's Peach Preserves on cereal. Specially good because jams are less than 20 calories and naturally fat-free. A real man's breakfast. With a name like Smucker's, it has to be good.
It begins at dawn. They've come for you. And they want what you have. It's your bed, your Serta Perfect Sleeper. But it's the most comfortable spot in the house. The Serta surface and support only Serta builds in makes it that way. So if it gets a little late for breakfast, there's always brunch. Is it any wonder people are saying, I want my Serta?
The president and his new team prep for Houston, but can they pump up his sagging polls enough for another term? A panel of Republican leaders face the nation Sunday.
Republican Party leaders and the White House have been wrestling with the issue of abortion all week, and they've been sending out mixed signals. That's the subject of Bruce Morton's commentary tonight.
The Reverend Pat Robertson has more delegates at this convention than he did 4 years ago when he'd been a candidate.
The religious right was especially strong on the platform committee, which is why the anti-abortion language was so strict. Even an expression of compassion for victims of rape and incest failed to pass. So presumably, President and Mrs. Bush were trying to send a different message when he talked about support and love for a grandchild who might choose abortion, and she said abortion didn't belong in the platform one way or the other, it was private. Then, to complicate things even more, the President's press secretary said, never mind all that, Mr. Bush stood by the platform.
The question, one veteran political observer said, is whether this is a cynical attempt to have it both ways with the voters, or a brilliant political maneuver, or both.
It may not matter much. Anti-abortion leader Phyllis Schlafly said this past week her troops were the last faithful followers the president had, because economic conservatives were still angry at him for the 1990 tax increase.
It's probably true the president can't afford to lose the religious right, but it's not the unmixed blessing it was in the 1980s, because abortion is a more divisive issue than school busing or the Pledge of Allegiance. More people will vote on the economy than on abortion anyway. What Mr. Bush needs to do here this coming week is to convince Americans that he knows how to lead them toward a brighter future. Yes, the vision thing. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Houston.
Judge John Sirica, the man who presided over the Watergate trials, has died. It was Judge Sirica who ordered President Nixon to turn over his White House tape recordings, an order that eventually led to the president's resignation. Judge Sirica died yesterday at a Washington hospital. He was 88.
They told me how Dow can take all this coal and turn it into clean burning gas.
Wouldn't that cut down on acid rain?
You got it.
Sounds like one serious job, son. I just wish it wasn't so far away.
Gonna miss you, Mike.
Hey, take care of this for me.
You can make a difference in what tomorrow brings.
Son, show them what you got.
'Cause Dow lets you do great things.
Your pets go many places during the course of a day, and you can't always protect them when they go into flea and tick-infested areas. We can. Used as directed, Heart's Blockade for dogs and cats repels and kills fleas and ticks, including ticks that carry Lyme disease. By creating a barrier, Heart's Blockade prevents these pests from living on your pets. Helping improve your pet's quality of life is your responsibility. Hearts helps you do that. Hearts, everything good for your pet.
State finals coming up. A lot of pressure to win. I don't eat right, I get irregular, so I don't project a winning attitude, and the boys see that. I tried some natural bulk fiber, but I couldn't take all that grit. Then I discovered Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. No grit in the mix or the taste. Easy to get the extra fiber I need every day to stay regular. You got a winning attitude, you win, if you're lucky.
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
And a late report, a report in tomorrow's New York Times says the United States and its allies are planning a showdown with Iraq over weapons inspection, possibly as soon as Monday morning. The Times says the allies are going to press for UN weapons inspections at Iraq's Ministry of Military Preparedness, a move that could lead to a new military confrontation with Baghdad. Finally, when it comes to hometowns, President Bush takes second to no man. Born in Massachusetts, raised in Connecticut, with a house in Maine, and even after living for years in Midland, Texas, he still says right here in Houston, where he first got elected to Congress, is his favorite hometown. James Sassori is here now with a hometown angle.
For Republicans arriving this weekend, Houston is a fresh mix of the New West and good old boy politics. But this will be old home week for George Bush. Houston is where he cut his political teeth 30 years ago and where he's come for redemption in 1992.
Good to have him home. Home where he belongs.
There are familiar surroundings like the posh but bankrupt Houstonian Hotel.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
The president's rent-a-suite official residence in Houston, where the first family gets first call on the facilities.
He doesn't need a reservation.
He just comes out, and if we're on the court, we leave. He is running the place.
and running around the place. In Memorial Park, the president often invites other joggers along and poses for snapshots.
Would holler and say, Mr. President, next time you circle around, can you stop and have your picture made?
He's always so nice. He really
always takes the time to do it.
Yeah.
And if he works up a hearty appetite, Mr. Bush may just stop at one of his favorite restaurants, Otto's Barbecue, a Houston classic. No frills and no broccoli for the president.
Well, usually it's ribs and links.
But even here these days, the president's friends are likely to serve up barbecue with a side of down-home advice.
He needs to come and talk to us little people. This country is in bad shape, and I feel like that I want him to be the leader to pull it through.
Oh, it's so bad, and I just hope that he pulls out of it. I mean, everybody thinks that he's already gone, but I'm not giving up.
Like any good politician, George Bush has been a hometown booster. 2 years ago, he brought the world's economic leaders to Houston. This time, in a city hurting like so many others, GOP fever isn't as contagious as it might be.
I think it's kind of lukewarm. I haven't really heard anyone really excited about it.
People are sick of politics in general, I think.
Still, with so much on the line, Houston gives George Bush a hometown advantage. The elephants are poised, but the race is still uphill. James Hattori, CBS News, Houston.
And that's the news. Tomorrow on Face the Nation, we'll look ahead to the Republican convention with Governors Carol Campbell of South Carolina, John Engler of Michigan, and Pete Wilson of California, and Representative Vin Weber of Minnesota. Then Connie Chung will have the news tomorrow night. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News, reporting tonight from the Republican National Convention in Houston. Good night.
CBS News.
The NFL is back with a preseason collision. The Cleveland Browns face the New York Giants. Prime time tonight on CBS.
This is CBS.
Coming up next in the TV8 News, live at 6, how your telephone service will be affected if U.S. West workers go on strike here in Iowa.
They're revving up their bikes in Boone this weekend. We'll take you to the Easy Rider Rodeo and an update on how the Mega Mall in the Twin Cities is doing.
Steve with another cool night. John Walters with third-round action of the PGA. TV8 News is next.
This warehouse is overflowing with fine new furniture, and it all must be sold by this Sunday at 5. It's your one and only chance to buy fine furniture from